me and Lieutenant Parkin written next to it for purposes of the record. Were there any other vehicles adjacent to Mrs. Karr's vehicle?
I believe there were. I don't remember what types of vehicles, though.
Okay. Would they have been in the spots adjacent to Mrs. Karr's vehicle?
Yes.
Can you just draw in the approximate position of where they would have been?
I don't remember the approximate position of where they were at.
But
I would hate to draw a car into a parking space that wasn't there.
Okay, but there were definitely other vehicles.
There were definitely other vehicles.
What type of vehicle was Mrs. Karr driving?
Can I refer to my report?
Sure.
Mrs. Karr was driving a 1990 Lincoln Town Car, and I believe that was blue in color, but I'd have to check my charts to find out what 29 means.
Okay. What was the approximate distance that you were standing from the vehicle?
I would say approximately 100 feet.
Okay. Were there any?
That's just my estimation, of course.
Were there any white trucks close by?
I believe there was. If you're referring to Mr. Karr's truck, I believe it was parked over in this area somewhere. I remember seeing it over there. I don't remember the exact parking space that it was parked in, though.
Okay, you've drawn a second vehicle now to the north of Mrs. Karr's vehicle, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Were there any obstructions other than the bushes you have drawn in, visual obstructions between yourself and Mrs. Karr's vehicle?
No.
Okay. Did the bushes impede your line of sight in any way?
No, the bushes were to the south of my line of sight with Mrs. Karr's vehicle.
And how tall are those bushes?
I'm not sure. I believe the bushes were a couple feet tall. There's several trees there also, but the trees are trimmed from the ground up to about 7 feet.
Okay. At this time, did you know that the white truck was Mr. Karr's vehicle?
No.
When did you become aware of that?
After Mr. Karr was arrested.
Now, what did you observe next to Mrs. Karr's vehicle as you and Lieutenant Parkin were initially standing there?
What or who?
Describe in general.
I remember Mr. Karr standing to the north of Mrs. Karr's vehicle.
Would that have been outside of the driver's door?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the front row, front easternmost row in the parking lot?
I believe so.
Okay, just for clarification. Okay, did you observe any what appeared to be conversation between them?
Yes.
Okay, were you able to hear that conversation initially?
I don't believe so, but I could tell you better if I could refer to my report again.
I'm getting there.
Okay. As I wrote in my report, Editor Dave and Ginny appeared to be talking peacefully with each other for several minutes. Then David, Mr. Karr, began yelling at Mrs. Karr,
okay,
but I couldn't understand exactly what he was saying.
Why did you initially take up a position with Lieutenant Parkin outside of City Hall?
Initially to ensure that Mr. Karr didn't go back into City Hall.
Okay. After several minutes had passed and he had not attempted to re-enter, why did you continue to maintain your position?
He still had not left the parking lot. He still had the opportunity to go back in there.
Was it your intention to wait it out just as long as you needed to until he left?
Yes, sir.
Same with Parkin, if you know?
I can't speak for Lieutenant Parkin's intentions. You'd have to ask her about that.
Okay. Did you have any discussion with Lieutenant Parkin as the two of you were standing there?
I'm sure we had a discussion. I don't remember what it was about.
Okay. Now, you alluded a moment ago to the fact that Mr. Karr began yelling and you couldn't understand what he was saying, correct?
Correct.
Where was Mrs. Karr at this time?
Ms. Karr was just sitting in the driver's seat of her vehicle.
And you don't know if she was yelling, do you?
No, I couldn't tell if she was yelling or not.
So she could have been yelling?
Actually, if I could refer to my report, I could again check that, make sure. When Mr. Karr was initially yelling at Mrs. Karr, I didn't hear her yelling anything back at him.
Okay. Now, she was inside the vehicle?
Yes.
Were the windows up or down?
I don't remember where the windows were up and down. The driver's side door was open, though.
Okay. But the sound could have been muffled?
Sound could have been muffled.
She could have very easily been yelling, and you just didn't hear it?
Yes.
Have you heard Mrs. Karr speak on occasions related to this incident?
Have I heard her speak on occasions related to this? No.
You've talked. Bad question. You've spoken to her?
I spoke to her.
Yes or no? General.
Yes.
Okay. Would you say she has a pretty soft voice?
I don't remember. If you could have her speak now, I could tell you better.
Okay. Would you say that Mr. Karr has a loud voice?
I don't remember if he normally has a loud voice or whether he only has a loud voice when he's yelling. If you had him speak, I'm sure I could tell you better.
If he was yelling loudly, would you agree that could drown out another sound?
I don't know. I would have to hear him yelling again and have her yelling to tell whether he was drowning her out.
Would you agree that a loud voice could drown out a softer voice?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what visual observations, if any, did you make while you alleged that David was yelling?
Can I again refer to my report?
You can keep it out as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, great.
Unless Mr. Williams has a problem with that.
I just caught a glimpse. I didn't realize you got a typewritten list. My gosh, how thorough.
Off the record, I type my stuff out. You do research at 6 in the morning.
That's true.
We'd all have our vices.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back on the record.
If you're ready. Need me to restate the question?
Yes, please.
Can I get a read back? I'm sorry.
What visual observations, if any, did you make while you alleged that David was yelling?
I observed approximately 6 other citizens stop and begin watching the commotion.
Okay. And did these citizens ever make any report to you that they were troubled or disturbed by this?
No, at the time I was more concerned with Ms. Karr's safety than the other citizens.
Okay. And in fact, you never followed up with them at any point to find out if they were disturbed?
I had no way of finding out who they were because Mr. Karr didn't submit to an arrest. He began to struggle, and we had to actually take him to the ground.
Okay.
At which time the people left.
The answer then to the question is no.
Yes, it's no.
At any point, did you attempt to acquire their names?
I didn't have a chance to acquire their names.
The answer is no.
The answer is no.
Okay. Other than these 6 individuals, what else did you physically observe about Mr. Karr's demeanor, if anything?
Well, as I was running towards the vehicle, I observed Mr. Karr throw Ms. Karr's hat across the vehicle.
Okay. Now,
Across the inside of the vehicle.
At this point let me slow you down. He's yelling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And officer, if I'm seeing slow and methodical, forgive me. He's yelling, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Standing outside the car.
Yes.
Turned towards the driver's door.
Yes.
Still outside of the vehicle.
Yes.
Where were his hands?
Well, from 100 feet away, it's kind of hard to see exactly where his hands were. But at one point, they would have to be in the car to take her hat off of her head if she was in the car.
Was he flailing his arms?
I don't remember if he's flailing his arms.
Do you remember if he had anything in his hands?
I don't remember.
Do you remember if back...
Aside from her hat, no, I don't remember.
Okay. Back outside of City Hall, do you recall seeing anything in his hands?
Yes. There's a tape player and a notebook.
Okay. Which hand was it in?
I don't know. I believe it was in his right hand, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Karr is right-handed or left-handed?
No, I don't.
Okay. Did you make any observation of these items in his hand when he was outside of his mother's vehicle?
Not that I remember.
Did you ever observe these items on the roof or hood of the car that would indicate that he put them down?
I don't remember.
Okay. So you don't have any recollection to suggest that he did put down or discard these items?
I know that he didn't have them in his hand when I arrested him, so at some point he had to have put them down.
Okay, but at that point you did not. Okay, correct?
Correct.
Okay.